morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Aberdeem, and this is A Thousand Dreams Plus One, a talk show on dreams. Someone asked me recently about the name of the program, and it means A Thousand Dreams because that's the name of the entire project, plus the dream of the one we are interviewing at every turn. So, in this occasion, we have an author, international speaker, and channeler who has worked with a collective consciousness known as the group for more than 30 years. I think it was 96 when they started. Eight had never been incarnated, and Steve is the first or the ninth completing the group. Together with his wife Barbara, he founded Espavo, a spiritual organization dedicated to empowerment, multidimensional awareness, and human evolution. Through seminars, books, broadcasts, and events around the world, Steve has explored topics such as consciousness, parallel realities, healing, timelines, and the transformation that humanity is currently experiencing. In 2017, he participated in Channelers of Change, Perspectives on World Transformation, together with Jim Self and Geoffrey Hoppe, and that is the reason that I came in contact with his work. And they explored the role of channeling and consciousness during times of planetary change. We continue to be in times of planetary change. So today we are particularly interested in exploring Steve's relationship with dreams, multidimensional realities, and whatever the group has to say about dreams and how they can help us in this transition. So welcome, Steve Rother. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I so much like what you're doing. I love the focus on being able to dream like this and to bring back the purpose of it and the energies around it. And I love the plus one. That's a great idea.
Thank you very much. Such an odd name, but I really like it too. And thank you. Yes, A Thousand Dreams is a project to bring awareness to the importance of dreams. It's kind of something that we forgot, so to speak, in a
Yes.
way. We did much more naturally ages ago. I'm not even talking about Greece, I'm talking about Lemuria, where we
Right.
lived kind of multidimensionally, naturally. So well, very honored with your presence, and I know you're a
Thank you.
very busy channeler, and you have groups, and you do recordings, and you're working day in and day out, and so I really appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you. I love my work, so I work a lot. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I do too. So, audience, let me tell you the story about the Espavo, because interestingly, my friend Pilar and me, we had a project that was called The New Earth, well, in Spanish, La Nueva Tierra. And we did workshops in Spanish for conscious people. I do believe those workshops are a complete treasure. They are out there somewhere. And in the branding, I used the word Espavo as a signature. And the word came to me in a book from Jean-Claude Coven it was 2008, must have been. The book was recently released. In fact, it came to me in how do you call it, paperback edition. It was not Kindle. Kindle wasn't out there that much at the time.
Right.
The book literally came to me, and the explanation that the word Spavo meant, thank you for taking your power, was there, but it didn't really tell the story of how the word came to be in our consciousness nowadays. So it was until 2017, 10 years we devoted to the New Earth project, and we were transitioning to another phase in our lives. So we literally stopped using Espavo at the moment, at that time. And then I noticed that Steve uses Pavo in his site. I never really paid much attention. I just thought like they were like, oh, what an interesting coincidence. But then it so happens that you were the one that originated the word with the group. So if you can tell us the story.
Sure, I'd love to. We were channeling back in, I think it was probably about 2003 or 2004. I'll have to look it up. But we were doing a channel in Baltimore, Maryland, and the group started coming in and they started telling stories about Lemuria. They said, we want to tell you about Lemuria because it was you humans are getting ready to go through the same type of situation that happened in Lemuria. So we'd like to tell you stories. They had the lead character was a young boy by the name of Amor, and which of course means love in French, but this was not associated with any language on earth. But his name was
Amor
Amor.
in Spanish is love. Amor.
It is in Spanish too. Good.
In Spanish,
awesome.
yes.
Good. Well, in Amor, they talked about him getting to a point where he would be stepping into his adulthood. That would be similar than the Jewish religion. They have the whole culture of having bar mitzvahs for boys and bat mitzvahs for girls. And basically it means that they're going to become an adult and take on their adult roles. Well, they had something very similar to that in Lemuria. And in Lemuria, one of the things that you would do is that you would find someone older than you, which was pretty easy because we lived to be 300 years in those days. But basically, you would find someone older and you would be their transition person. When they started to die, if they were sick or anything of that nature, you would come and you would be with them and you would hold their hand until they either got better or when they died. And if they died, you would help their spirit pass on to the other side comfortably. And that was kind of a tradition that all Lemurians had. So Amor made this commitment to a gentleman by the name of A2. And he was quite a bit older than Amor, but still very young. And it was an interesting thing. They told the story about how Amor got to know his family, but the family was kind of hesitant because it meant that he would be called when he was dying, and nobody wanted to see that. So, but he got to meet everybody and got to know them. So shortly after that, A2 took ill, and Amor was called, and Amor came to A2's house, and his family welcomed him because they wanted to see him. They were hoping that A2 would get better, but A2 was very rapidly going away. He was on what we call the downhill slope, and he was dying, basically. So before he left, he said, Amor, I want to give you something. It's something that is really important, because A2 was a linguist. He studied the very ancient languages of Lemuria and different parts of the area, because Lemuria was around for almost 10,000 years or more. So it was there a long time. And of course, things evolved and language changed over periods of time. But A2 said, Amor, I'm going to give you a word. And this word used to be used in a long time ago for hello and goodbye, kind of like ciao or aloha today. And it was simply a greeting. And the name was Espavo. And the word was simply used all the time back then. You'd pass somebody in the street and you'd say Espavo. And literally translated, it means thank you for taking your power. Because Lemurians knew that when they all held their own power, rather than giving it away to different people, that was very important and helped everybody when people held their own power. So that was the story. And of course, they went on to give many other stories of we call them the Amor stories today. They're not really around much anymore. They kind of ran their course and we took them down after a while, but we may bring them back at some point. But that was one of the most important stories of that. We ended up naming our company after that, calling it Espavo. We do actually hold a registration, a trademark registration on that, but only for people that want to call their business Espavo, only in the spiritual area. That's the only thing you can't actually own a word. And they are very happy that people use this word. That was the idea. It wasn't about trying to give anybody exclusive use or anything else. They wanted everybody to start using it. So we were thrilled to hear that you were using it. That's perfect. Absolutely.
Well, we used it for, it was, I think, 10 years. And then, as I said, we transitioned to something else. In fact, I am a branding person, honestly. That's my professional expertise. And now for 1,000 Dreams, I use the tag or the ending, dreams are for real, which I love.
Cool.
I think it's like it's so. But well, yeah, we transitioned. So thank you. I will use it whenever I can because I love the word and the concept. It's so powerful. I think.
And it's used in a lot of places. There's a company that makes yoga pants, and their name is Espavo. And we've seen it show up in, if you go on YouTube and you type in Espavo, you're going to come up with all kinds of websites with it. So the group is very happy that that is taking place.
Well, thank you very much. Okay. Well, viewers, that was the connection, the initial connection. Now, I am super interested in how the group views multidimensions. We'll get into it. Okay. I have something that's called dreaming configurations because in the way I view dreaming is like we visit these ethereal territories, and there are many ways of visiting these ethereal territories. Most everybody dreams like normal nowadays dreams, like the dreams from this era are you go to sleep and then you wake up and you remember the dream. Many other people try to explore lucid dreaming, and one step further, they not only experience lucid dreaming but attempt to control the dreams. That is something I call flurry dream. It's a term that comes from the Toltec. It is debatable if the term is correct or not, but you get the drift. So, and there are other ways of connecting to the dreaming landscapes, as I call them. For example, dream walking. Dream walking that I mentioned come to you, and you are conscious, but you're conscious, but not with the mind. There is something else that I call reality shift. That was a technique from the Jackies, that they literally shift the point in the body, in the energy body, where they connect to the reality. It's very much like Matrix, like when Neo was being born and then it gets connected like that. Just so you change the point of connection. Okay, well, just this is a brief preamble because there are like 10 ways of connecting to the dreaming domains as I see them. But I suspect that channeling is another way of connecting to these dreaming domains, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Okay, so and I continue to discover ways. By the way, I think I've got 10 or 11 by now. So I'm gonna add channeling, and I'm gonna add also like the psychedelic drugs or whatever. But going to you, because my question to you is kind of more personal. Like, how do you experience dreaming in the many ways that we can experience dreaming? Because you made a comment recently in an interview with an English dream woman that your wife woke up and she always told you her dreams. And then she told you, like, oh, just kind of command yourself to remember your dreams, and that's it, which, by the way, that's how it works. But tell us what you how you experience dreams.
Well, my wife, Barbara, dreamed every single night, and she would have these fascinating dreams. Usually not scary, but usually just very vivid dreams. And every morning when we would wake up, she would say, "Did you dream? Tell me your dreams." And I go, I don't think I dreamt, I was dreaming, but I didn't know it is what happened. But she would always, we'd spend the first half hour of our day having her tell me all about her dreams while she was making breakfast. And she remembered every single detail. Well, it was really interesting because a lot of her dreams were her in a different situation. In other words, she wasn't married to me. Sometimes I was in her dreams, but not usually. It was usually other people that were in her dreams. And that is when the group started talking to me about multidimensionality. And they said many times when people go to sleep, they actually slip into another one of their own dimensions and play a little bit there. And that person comes and plays, and they basically switch places. And Barbara was really good at this. She did this a lot. For me personally, I didn't, I had to physically remember that when I went to bed, I had to tell myself that I would remember my dreams. And when I did, many times I would dream about, the problems I was trying to solve, or something to do with the business, or, something very practical in different ways. So it gave
Mhm.
me ideas and it was very helpful, but I didn't have the big, wonderful stories that she had. And then one day I did. And I'll never forget this dream. Kind of like her, she
Wow.
can remember those dreams for a long time. But I was in a different place. They were calling me by a different name. I was single. I wasn't married. I didn't have children. I had a dog. And we were driving around in these kind of, it was kind of like a contraption. It wasn't a bicycle, but it had pedals on it that you could use it was really strange. But anyway, I remember this whole thing. And I remember that you had to be careful on certain types of turns because you could turn it over very easily. So I had this incredibly vivid dream. And my friends, I had some really good friends that we got together with. I remember their names. One of them was John, one of them was Paul. And I remember that we got together in different areas. And I can still to this day remember that one dream that kind of awoke me to
Yeah.
dreaming. And that's when the group actually said, no, you slipped into another one of your dimensions. That was you in another simultaneous dimension. And then they described the whole thing of multidimensionality. And this was quite some time ago. We've been talking about it ever since and using it in the work. But I will also say that now most of the scientists are starting to agree with this. Most of the theoretical physicists and the cosmologists that I follow, they don't call it the universe anymore. They call it the multiverse because they're aware that is not just one universe. We have all these multiple dimensions going on in these other places. So anyway, the group has a little bit different view of it and be able to bring that in. But that was my dream experience. And since then, I've been able to remember my dreams a lot more, but none of them have been quite as vivid as that one that they really, I'm sure the group just opened it up for me because I was channeling at that point. So I asked them to help, and I think they took me out and put me in another dimension so I would have that experience, and it was really powerful.
Wow. Um, okay, as I understand, because I listened to this in the Channelers of Change program. Um, so the group says it is like a ray coming from home, and then it bifurcates in 11 rays. No. And the 12th being the center, which called my attention immediately because archetypes are 12. And 12 by 12 gives us the 144,000 angelic families
Correct.
that a lot of
Absolutely.
groups go. So 12 is a very, very significant number. Uh, Maybe even 13 too, but in any case. So we're here with 12. And yesterday I was listening to you to a channel with Lilith, and I I heard her saying, well, it's 12, but it is infinite, which makes all the sense to me. It's like, It is if you can have any number of 12s. And it relates to something that I relate when I wrote an article. It's called Parallel Lifetimes, because the theory of the block universe is almost like you're standing outside of a block. If you could picture a block outside of you, which has coordinates, and the coordinates are not only x, y. There is also a time. So you could choose to be in any coordinate at any given moment because you are outside of a block. So it's, to my mind, correct me if I'm just imagining too much, but to my mind, it's like if you could just walk outside and be standing in the soul's perspective, so to speak, or the higher self, or however you call it, then you can see all of these different rays playing out at the same time. So, to the
Yes.
point is, if you have this physical reality as being ray 1, for example, and then you're dreaming and you dream of the ray 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and etc., but those are not physical. I'm, am I hallucinating here, or
No,
how does it work?
you're describing it the same way the group does. We don't call it ray 1, ray 2. What happens is the white light comes from home, and the white light is perfect. It has everything in it. It hits this crystal that we call the higher self, and like a prism, it puts colors out. So all the colors are actually perfect imperfections of the white light, which is what happens. And you're absolutely right. The group actually says it's infinite, but we humans have difficulty even understanding what infinity is. So they try to put things in ways that we can understand them. They say they're actually in groups of 12, and they go on forever, but it's better to just look at the higher self as the 12th dimension, and then you've got all the reds, the greens, the blues, the yellows. You got 11 different colors in there that are all acting a little bit different with the same spirit. It's really fascinating.
I mean, yeah, okay. So let's say, because I had a dream. I mean, tying up with your what you said about your first dream is like, I had a dream. Like it was, I was Pope John Paul II was dying, and at that time I was dreaming very vividly. It was almost impossible to be alive in the way I was dreaming back then. So I had these encounters with him, and he was asking me to be his channeler. And in the dreams, three of them, well, more, I had more, but there were three very, very significant dreams in which I said no. So I woke up every time saying, like, what do you do? Like, what were you thinking? Like, of course, the story about my relationship with John Paul II is another matter. Of course, we were very close, very, very close. And he was actually looking for someone to channel him. So the thing is that it was me, but it was another me. And forgive me if I speak too much, but my friend Pilar has this. She used to do these travels to the light, I think it was called, and I think the name came from Kathumi, because what they explored was different potentials. And I'm coming back to the race. Sorry, because the thing is, okay, I chose in that dream, well, which affected this reality, that I was not channeling him, and that's that. I
But
mean,
another dimension, but but another dimension, you probably are.
that's the thing. If you were to do an exploration or of the light, travel to the light to see what might have happened if I had said yes, because that's the exploration of the trials of the light. Like, okay, if you didn't take this bad turn, what could have happened? So what I'm trying to understand from the group is like, it is kind of, it cancels out, because if I didn't choose it in this existence, then but you chose it elsewhere, and then you never miss the experience. So it is
Correct.
like a zero-sum game, you know?
Or a collective sum game to where they don't necessarily cancel out, but they all gain from the different experiences. That is one of the things that the group talks about. They say we're all 11 dimensions are born at the same instant. They die at the same instant, which is why some people go into a coma. Some people can't have a long, extended death, and some people die very quickly. And none of those are hard and fast rules. You can always change a little bit of that, but that also fragments the spirit, fragments the soul in some ways. But one of the things that we found was that it was easy to find a way to connect in that way and to be able to use that. Because what happens is when you're making choices, I had 2 girlfriends in high school, and I couldn't decide which one I wanted to go after. Well, it turned out that I married one of them, and she was with me for 50 years. And I always wondered what it would be like if I would have gone the other direction. I did in another dimension. So it wasn't
Okay.
so much about a zero-sum game. It was that I got to experience it all of it in different ways. And then when we go home, we combine all those dimensions again in the veil, and we become perfect again, which is really nice. I'm
Wow.
glad I made the choice I did in this life.
No, fine. But it is so the people that are trying to control dreams they are just making a multidimensional mess. I mean, even if it
Yeah.
was not multidimensional, it might be a mess, but
I don't think you can actually just jump in to another dimension without permission. I think they have to be open to it. But if you're thinking about dimensionality, they probably are too. We all tend to evolve at a similar rate. We're the same spirit, but we're just having different experiences and learning different things from different people.
okay, so the thing is, sometimes and I will add this territory of dreaming to my conception of dreams because now we have these another dimensions that we are parallelly living in that we can bring in dreams. I will add this dimension to the concept of the dreaming landscapes because now we have these other realities that are taking place at the same time that we can tap into in dreams. Is there any way that we can recognize these very odd dreams with our other selves?
I think there is. I think what happens is that when we jump into a multidimensional dream or multidimensional experience, it is very vivid, and you really feel like you're that person. Sometimes something negative happens in one of these other dreams, and you may feel guilty or you may feel, challenging, and it stays with you all day. Those are usually multidimensional dreams, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Does it matter whether when you dream, you're planting seeds, you're channeling, your own energies and the channels that are waiting to come through. They'll come through and they'll lead you in certain areas. Um, you mentioned lucid dreaming and walking in dreams. That is possible. That is absolutely possible to be walking down the street and allowing yourself to go into that energy. It takes practice, and it's not the smartest thing to do because you never want to drive a car while you're doing that, but because you basically you'll lose consciousness in some ways. But it is possible to do. The group has shown me that, and we've even done exercises with that in some of our channeling classes that we give on how to walk in that area. There's also ones that we call exercises that we've done called meditating in an elevator. In other words, dropping into that state very quickly, even in a busy place or with a lot of people around. we've learned to be able to use those in different ways in that too. Personally, I've never been successful at altering my dreams consciously, but that's just me. I know a lot of people can do that and have done quite successful with that. I've not been able to do that myself, but that's okay.
Well, we've said this a few times before because we don't attempt to control dreams, not even lucid dreaming. I suspect that it may just become something natural for conscious people to be more lucid as time goes by. But the Tibetans say that you generate karma also in the dream state if you try to control it, which makes all the sense in the world.
It's interesting. I didn't know that.
Understood as you're living pending things, not as, the conception of karma can be a little bit rough, but
Yes.
it's only that
Good
you're
point.
leaving things unfinished in a
Right.
way. So that's what I mean. Yeah, you can do this stuff. What we do is we open up before dreaming, before the night time, to receiving the dream that we need to receive. More, it's more like that. And to your point, like, what does it matter? I believe that many people try to interpret dreams that shouldn't be interpreted
I
because
agree.
they are experiences,
I
and
agree.
and a lot of them are also not even experiences. They are just a way to digest the very
Yes.
rough energies of physical reality. So there's nothing to interpret there.
I
Okay.
was talking to
Wow.
Teresa Chung about that. Exactly.
Yeah.
The kind of the dream ladies who wrote many books on dreaming. And I was talking to her about that. She was on my show and I've been on hers. And she was saying pretty much the same thing that the group was talking about. Sometimes there are just energy balancing dreams. I know that my wife used to tell me that once in a while I would have these dreams where I was swinging or angry or sitting, breathing fast or sitting up in bed. I don't remember any of that. And I didn't remember any of the dreams. And sometimes what that is, according to the group, they basically said, well, you're in the light all day. You're dealing with all these wonderful people all day. You're living in the love. And once in a while, we have to balance your energy a little bit. So you have one of these dreams that kind of balances your energy and you don't remember it because it wouldn't be a pleasant memory. So we just basically erased it. But it was interesting. It was interesting.
That's what I did. This thing I call the dreaming landscapes because there are many different territories, and I'm just to put an example because I sometimes travel to the future, and
Do
I
you?
find them
How cool.
fascinating because yeah, because but because you identify the technology, or sometimes because there is a knowingness that you know that you this is not the time, or you're seeing yourself in the future, which has also happened to me once, but it has happened. But more in more occasions it is like you see the technology that doesn't exist now. That's one very a direct way to see that you're in the future. So and more to the point again, what would you interpret from that? Not much. You were there, you period. It's like, what do you want to make of it, It's
Exactly.
like what I say is just like learn to discern where in the dreaming landscapes you were at, and then you see if you need a dictionary for symbols, which is increasingly difficult to use because symbols are so personal now. But anyway,
Exactly. Exactly. But I think that's fascinating. I would love to have some of those dreams in the future. I'll see if I can do that. I'm very envious of you having those dreams. I'd love to see that.
it's great. Sometimes I just wake up to Google. It's been years, but I was to Georgia Island, And I woke up like, oh, a Georgia Island. And it was a very political dream with this secrecy and the trees of Georgia, like very gloomy, and this forest full of mist, and and well, it exists. That's the kind of dreams like I love having, and I don't really do nothing. Um, I'm more of the opinion like the best thing you could do to open yourself to dreams is open the connection, so the dreams that need to come to you. Well,
That's
something
nice.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
I'll play
So
with that.
coming
I'll
back,
play with that. Thank you for that.
yeah, yeah, sure, sure. In any case, the 11th race. So what's the point of experience if we are experiencing it all? So what are we doing here?
We're actually evolving the spirit. We're actually evolving. It is an evolution, but it happens on many different levels. Not only do each one of us in our individual lives, we're always looking to better ourselves, to learn, to become more perfect, to find a way to evolve spiritually. Some people want to advance in money. Some people want to advance in spirituality. Some people want to advance in education, learning about the world, whatever it is, whether whether we study ourselves, whether we study the stars and the cosmos, all these things are actually evolving our connection on this side of the veil. When we go home, we're perfect. We're all part of each other. We're all in what we would call God. We're all part of that energy. But when we incarnate, we become separate and we pretend to be separate. But the idea is, can we bring that same energy here on this side of the veil? And that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to all do individually as well as collectively.
It's interesting because there is a way of dreaming that you go all the way to the soul and bring back the energies, and that's the only thing you can bring back the feeling, because there's no the mind has no capacity of bringing back a
Correct.
memory or a story.
Exactly.
Okay, okay.
Exactly.
So what, if anything, and I mean, if you were a spiritual seeker, um are dreams useful in any way for uh, growing, evolving, learning, or just experiencing? Is just for fun?
Well, I I think it's all of that. But what we experience is a different way to look at ourselves. And that is very important for all of us. Like I said before, I don't dream as much as other people do, but I also think that's because I channel so much. So in a way, I'm actually
Yeah.
dreaming or reaching that same level when I channel. So I tend to channel a lot when I'm awake and probably much less when I'm asleep. But that is something that can be really beneficial for all of us. And if we're able to remember our dreams, there's some incredible stories that can unfold from that. And I do think that sometimes that's other entities that are trying to channel through us to tell their story or to help you evolve your story in some way. And those are wonderful things. And it's kind of like another form of channeling. That really is. And my definition of channeling, yes, I'm a professional channel. Yes, I do this for a living. But I think everybody channels. We just call it different things. When we really drop into that really creative state, and the musician hears a song for the first time and then he has to work it out, or the artist sees something really beautiful and they try to replicate that beauty. I think those are all channels. And that's the way we kind of teach channeling, is to learn to learn to sharpen that intuition and that ability. And you can certainly do that in dreams. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We all dream, and we all channel in a way.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. what does the group think? Like, can we use dreams to ease this transition, this planetary transition, or our personal path?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you look at television, movies today, you're going to see a lot of things about the future being negative. We call it dystopian. Basically, it's after the big bomb or after the Great War or after the earth changes. So it's all very negative in most ways. And I do believe that we actually influence our own energy by looking at that, by working with those things. What we don't always see is ways of projecting beauty into the future. Some of the incredible things that can happen to us, and we can live, and we can do that easily in dreams. I do believe that we will see a change on our televisions and in the movie theaters going forward, because that's kind of a collective vibration that they try to capture what is going to interest you. So they're going to make something that interests you. Well, I think we're going to be changing a lot of that toward being able to see something really beautiful. We talked about the channelers of change. That's what the three of us were doing. We were talking about some of the beautiful things that could happen in the future, even if the earth changes, even if humanity evolves. I think we've been here many times, much, much longer than our sciences understand. And we've gone through different phases of different things. Just because we're coming to a close in one phase does not mean that we're not going to be here. We're spirits pretending to be human. And that is evolution. And we should be dreaming about that. What will that look like? And that's magical.
You're reminding me, because this is, I think there's a term like the doom gloom.
There you go, the doom gloom.
I wrote about it because at the beginning of the project, I was a little bit more optimistic about the state of dreaming all around. And I thought of doing a prize for the best dream or the most inspiring dream of the future, which are not that common. I just I realized later, of course. But the thing is that I did connect to a timeline where Manhattan was frozen. And it was a spectacular dream because I was overseeing, I literally was in a private flight overseeing Manhattan. And there was a little bit of movement of some cargo ships that were maneuvering on the top of the skyscrapers, just in a little unfrozen part of the water, just beside the buildings.
Interesting.
Well, the top of the building. So I was in my conception, I was trying to search for the most inspiring potential future. As I said, I later understand that it was not so easy to connect to those potentials, because they are in, and I was saying, like, the point, like, we are so full of doom gloom in every movie. It has lessened more now, but it was like overwhelming. Like, so and it is debatable if the dream comes to reality or the reality comes to the dream, and that's what I say a little bit in the article. I later understood that timeline as, yes, that's a timeline where planet Earth freezes again, and it doesn't have to be this timeline, but maybe there is this timeline. That's
correct.
Elsewhere.
That's correct. And that's just our circumstances. The reality is, even, we had the Aztecs, we had the Mayans. They were here for very long periods of time doing really well, and suddenly their culture ended. It doesn't mean it was wrong. It just means that, and we still have Mayans on the planet today. They've just dispersed and gone in different directions. We have Aztecs that are here. We have all the people that are still here in different ways. So, even the fall of Rome, no one thought that Rome would ever fall, but here it is. we're seeing something similar, I think, in the way of the United States. The United States has been a leading power. I think it's stepping out of that power in these days. And none of that really makes any difference to the spirit. The spirit is still going to evolve. We're still going to find beauty. We're still going to find love and joy in all these places. And that's probably the most important thing, is that we don't judge something by what we think is good and bad, but we just live in our higher aspects of everything that we can do. And that's what the group calls the new earth, the new energy of humans. No matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we can make a huge difference. And if we just hold hands, we can evolve together. And that's their message.
Yeah, I see you repeating this message of us being together. If you go to that 12th position, to the position of the higher self,
Right?
So what is the effect? So you advocate for us getting to that position and then seeing all the 11 different dreams? Because it reminds me, the Toltecs say that if you wake up the dreamer, then you die, you know? And so it's like going to the higher self and waking him up like, hey, you're dreaming these 11 realities, so wake up and then everything that.
Yep.
I don't know. How do you see that?
Well, that's an interesting point that you bring up, because most people say that you'll never die in your dreams, or if you actually die in your dreams, you actually die. I have died in my dreams, and you don't actually die.
Yeah.
You step out of the body, and you're not dead. You're just out of that physical body. And it was interesting because my latest book is going to be released in August. It's called The Veil Matrix, and it's all about what happens when we die, what goes on just before we die, how we make these contracts, and how we make them before we come in, and how we make them as we leave, and what takes place afterwards. And I do believe that was planted in me in a dream, because I remember dying in my dream, having all my family and my wife mourning me and missing me. I went to my own funeral where everybody was telling stories about me and I was laughing, and I remember all that. I think they gave me that experience so that I could write this book, so that I could be more clear about what it was. So in some ways that was a channel, but I'm also aware that most people say that you never die in your dream. Well, I have. I have done that. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Well, in my dreams, many people have died, and it's taken more symbolically than literally. It's like maybe that these people are having a transition, and that's that. But I do remember one time where I needed to take an information to the other side of the veil. This was before Heaven's Cross and before last year, where it was still very, very solid, the separation, which is not anymore. But I told my sister, I need to die because I need to take this information to the other side, and
Yeah.
I'll come back, and you will know who I am because of my eyes. You remember my eyes. Well, of course she remembers my eyes, but like you just see my eyes, and then I'll be back. I'll be okay, but I need to die and come back. Of course, I did die in reality, but well, those were the times. How interesting! I'd be very, very interested in reading your book. It sounds fascinating.
Most of my books were translated into 19 different languages, which gave me the ability to travel. And Barb and I traveled all over the world, giving seminars and talking to people in different areas. This was the first book that I'm not publishing myself. It's being published by Inner Traditions, who is a fairly well-known translator. And they have their own Spanish branch, which is perfect, because I'm really looking forward to having it translated into Spanish and getting to know some of the people across the border even closer. So that will be very nice. But that's the first time that my books have been actually published by other people. Besides all the foreign ones, I didn't publish myself. Those were by foreign publishers in different areas. But I think the time is right that we need to, everybody's going to experience death. Everybody is going to experience losing people in their lives. They're going to experience that over and over and over again. And then we're going to experience our own death and how we leave this planet. If we're in fear, the group says when you're a baby, you're going to be a very fearful baby until you learn how to release that. If you're angry because you didn't want to die and you're just really upset about it, you're probably going to be an angry child when you come back. And you're going to pick up the same energy that you left with. So I believe we should be teaching this stuff in schools so that children know what to think about it when it happens. I think we should lose the fear about talking about death. All of us are going, it's an important part of life. It's very spiritual, no matter what your beliefs are, whether you're religious, whether you're spiritual, whatever the case. It's in all religions and all belief systems. And I think we should be talking more about it. So that's what the book is going to be released in August. It'll be with Inner Traditions and Findhorn Press, who's part of Inner Traditions, part of Simon and Schuster. They're all owned by different people. So it's kind of fascinating. But anyway, I'm looking forward to having that come out. And opening up those conversations. And I think we'll probably have a lot more people having experiences in their dreams over that as well. Once we kind of introduce it a little bit more into the public consciousness, which is what my goal is. That's my dream, to be able to work with that.
Oh, but so the group advocates for dreaming. They
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
they do.
Well, we use that language anyway, don't we? I just said that is my dream. That is one of my dreams. We dream into the future and we put our goals into the future, but we use the terminology dreaming because it's perfect. It's a conscious, wakeful dream. And we can actually set our energy and our path by setting those dreams. The group calls them crystals that we place on our path. And we can, as we walk down the path, we go, oh, I remember this dream, and we create it even more. And we're able to work with it that way. So it's a beautiful, and I love the work you're doing. This is really helping people to understand a part of the life that is very misunderstood most of the time.
Oh, so these crystals are like the deja vus? Like you dreamt it and then you find it in life and like, oh,
And sometimes we put the crystals on our path intentionally while we're here. And other times we put them on before we're born. We put them on in the planning stage of life where we plan to have this happen or this happen. Sometimes we call it good, sometimes we call it bad. But the spirit learns from all these beautiful human experiences. And that's the planning stage. So sometimes we put those crystals on our path. And all of a sudden we walk upon them and we go, oh, I remember this. I'm supposed to be doing this. And you move in a different direction. Yeah.
yeah, that happened to me. Yeah, absolutely. What is one advice that the group or you may give dreamers?
We're in a time of compression. We're in a time where time is moving faster. Things are happening quicker. Whether we call them good or bad, they're moving very fast now. And one of the ways that we can be controlled, which we sometimes are, is to be separated. To think, oh, these are good people, these are bad people. This is the problem with all of your problems here. We've seen it happen over and over again in humanity. So what the group suggests is that anytime you see someone who is different than you, especially, to remember that you're all exactly the same on the other side of the veil. You all came from the same place. And if you can remember that and look for the ways that you are alike instead of the ways that you are separate, then we can start creating this new earth and start living in a higher reality. And that's what they want us to remember.
Okay. What role do they feel dreams will play in the future?
Dreams will always be here for us. And you must realize that dreams are always thought of as positive. It's like we say, when we dream of the future, we dream positive dreams. We dream beautiful things. We dream about living in a beautiful world. We dream about living in the fifth dimension. We dream about all these wonderful things. We actually use those words to describe the beautiful things coming up in our future. And I do believe that the physical dreams that we have and the REM state as we're coming out of our sleep, there's a short period of time actually where all these dreams take place. And it's usually just when you first go into it, but more when you first come out of your sleep state. And it's a perfect opportunity for spirit to drop things in and for your higher self to drop beautiful things into your dreams. So I think that's going to be very important and important that people understand it. Absolutely. I love the work you're doing. Absolutely, Aberdeem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, lastly, if I am forgetting to ask something that you want to say, please go ahead. But what gives you the greatest hope regarding humanity at this moment?
I do believe that we have a lot of people that are awakening right now. Now, as I mentioned, we've all been controlled. Not, I don't want to get too much into that. It's not that negative. We're controlled by our parents. Our parents teach us certain things. We're controlled by things we read, things we see on television, in movies. And it's not a bad thing. But I do believe that we are starting to awaken from all of that and understand that we are spirits playing a beautiful game of pretending to be human. And the biggest thing we can do is to reach out and hold each other's hands. And that's kind of what you're doing with this podcast. That's kind of what you're doing in different ways. You're reaching out and giving different views so that people can have more of a choice as to what they believe and how they believe it. And these things are huge. We have a lot of new people coming on the planet. We have a lot of people who are going to be moving into a spirituality that doesn't involve a belief system. You don't have to believe in the group. They're not interested in getting followers. They just want to put beautiful messages out that people can use. And that is a different type of energy than we've had on this planet before. And I think it's time. And that's my hope for humanity, that we step into that energy.
Yeah, you touched upon a point because dreams, the beauty is that they go beyond belief systems.
They do. They absolutely do. The group calls belief systems BS. They basically, we all have beliefs. We all believe in things, and that's perfect. But when we believe in something here and we say, okay, if you believe in this, you have to believe all these other things too. And that gets crazy. We should take the things that really resonate in our heart and leave the rest. We don't need all of it. We don't need to follow this or follow that or be this type of religion or be this type of spirituality. There's no spiritual competition on the other side of the veil. It's all about beauty and about love. And that's what we try to bring here. Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time. It was very interesting, and thank you to the group. So happy to have had this conversation.
Me too. Espavo, my dear.
Espavo. Espavo.